Guys, our favorite actor Maurice didn't just go live that night, he detonated a bomb on the internet with nothing but his phone, his emotions, and a truth he'd been sitting on for way too long. No warning. No promotional post. No, tune in at 9 p.m. energy. Just a sudden notification that sent phones buzzing across the country at an ungodly hour, and thousands of people scrambling out of sleep, mid-scroll, or whatever they were doing to catch what was clearly about to be the messiest, most emotional confession of the year. The moment his face filled the screen, you could see it. This wasn't another influencer moment or a scripted damage control session. The man looked like he'd been carrying the weight of 1,000 think pieces on his back, and tonight, he was finally ready to drop it all. From the jump, Maurice made it painfully clear that he was done playing nice with the noise. Done with the blog spinning fairy tales out of thin air. Done with people analyzing his every breath like he was some kind of social experiment. Done with the assumptions, the side eyes, that I heard from my cousin's friend's hairdresser, type rumors that had been circulating for months. He said he'd kept quiet, hoping the storm would pass on its own, thinking silence was the mature move. But instead, his silence became confirmation for people who wanted drama more than they wanted truth. Every time he said nothing, the internet said everything. And not a single bit of it was kind. He kicked things off by shouting out the real ones, the fans who didn't jump ship when the dragging got heavy, who didn't switch up when the comment sections turned into war zones. Because let's be real, when the internet decides you're guilty, loyalty becomes a rare currency. And Maurice knew that. You could hear the gratitude in his voice, shaky but genuine, like he was talking to old friends who stuck around when everyone else was too busy throwing stones. That gratitude hit different because you could tell he wasn't just thanking fans for views or engagement. He was thanking them for seeing him as human when the rest of the world wanted him to be a villain. Then came the line that broke the internet into a million pieces and had people refreshing their timelines like their lives depended on it. Nothing, absolutely nothing, can separate him from Sonia. Pause. Let that marinate. The way he said it wasn't casual. It wasn't rehearsed. It was heavy, deliberate, and loaded with the kind of emotion that makes you stop chewing your snack and lean closer to the screen. Immediately, chaos erupted. Team Love was screaming, "They're together and we been new." Team Logic was yelling, "Y'all are delusional," he said friendship. And Team Chaos was just eating popcorn, waiting for the next plot twist because honestly, this was better than any Nollywood script. Maurice tried, and I mean really tried, to explain that not every tight bond between a man and a woman has to involve romantic entanglement. He talked about how actors spend long hours together, share vulnerable moments on set, depend on each other emotionally, and sometimes that creates a family-like connection that the public just doesn't understand. Fair point. Solid argument. But here's the thing, his words said friendship, but his tone, his pauses, his entire energy said, it's deeper than that and I'm not about to explain it to you people. He refused to slap a label on it. Refused to give dates, timelines, or play-by-plays. And honestly, that made it even more intriguing. The internet doesn't do well with ambiguity. We need answers, receipts, and a full PowerPoint presentation. Maurice gave us none of that, and it drove everyone insane. There was this moment, right in the middle of his explanation, where he just stopped talking. Completely. Like he was about to say something massive but caught himself at the last second. His eyes got glossy, his jaw tensed, and for a few seconds, it was just silence and the sound of thousands of people holding their breath on the other side of their screens. That pause alone spawned 100 conspiracy theories. Was he about to cry? Was he holding back a confession? Did someone walk into the room? The comment section went berserk. People were typing in all caps, sending prayer emojis, begging him to let it out. That moment became a meme within hours, but it also became proof for a lot of people that whatever Maurice and Sonia had, it was deep, complicated, and not something he could easily put into words. He didn't stop there though. Maurice flipped the script and addressed the biggest accusation that had been haunting Sonia for months, that she was the mastermind, the puppet master, the one pulling strings and causing division behind the scenes. And he shot that down with the kind of conviction that made even the skeptics pause. According to him, Sonia never controlled his decisions, never manipulated his career moves, and never caused beef with anyone. In fact, and this is the part that had jaws on the floor, he said she was the one pushing for peace when things got messy. She was the one telling people to calm down, to talk things out, to not let the internet tear relationships apart. That revelation hit different because for months, bloggers had painted her as the problem, the troublemaker, the reason everything fell apart. And here was Maurice, live and unfiltered, flipping the entire narrative on its head. He went even deeper, talking about how Sonia handled the chaos. While blogs were running wild with her name, while her comment sections were flooded with insults, while every move she made was being dissected and criticized, she stayed quiet. She didn't clap back. She didn't leak screenshots. She didn't do the My Truth Instagram post that everyone expected. Instead, according to Maurice, she was checking on him. Asking if he was okay. Reminding him to take breaks from social media. Encouraging him to protect his peace and not get dragged into the mud. That kind of loyalty, that kind of grace under fire, is rare. Especially in an industry where everyone's first instinct is to defend themselves loudly and publicly. People in the comments started shifting. The ones who were ready to cancel her started typing, maybe we judged too fast. The ones who defended her felt vindicated. The ones who just wanted drama were mad because this was starting to sound too wholesome. Of course, Maurice didn't ignore the wild rumors that had been circulating. Without naming names or getting too specific, he called out the stories about secret trips, mystery women, blurry paparazzi photos, and DMs that allegedly exposed everything. He said people were taking 5-second clips and turning them into full-length Netflix series. A glance became a love confession. A casual dinner became a secret affair. A friendly hug became confirmation of a whole relationship timeline that never existed. And while he admitted that staying silent for so long gave those stories room to grow, he also made it clear that some people were just determined to believe the worst no matter what. Because online, facts don't trend as fast as drama. Truth doesn't get as many clicks as scandal. And once the narrative is set, it's almost impossible to rewrite it. One of the most powerful moments from the entire live stream was when Maurice stepped back from the specifics and made a broader point: actors are human beings first. Not characters. Not content for your entertainment. Not plot devices in your group chat debates. Real people with real feelings, real struggles, and real breaking points. He said it calmly, but you could feel the weight behind it. And that statement alone triggered a wave of support that was almost overwhelming. The comment section flooded with hearts, prayer hands, and messages like, "We forget that sometimes," and "needed to hear this." Even people who came in skeptical started to soften. Because at the end of the day, whether you believed him or not, you couldn't deny that he was genuinely hurting. And that humanity, that vulnerability, cut through a lot of the noise. But let's keep it 100, not everyone was moved. As soon as the live ended and people had time to process, the critics came out in full force. Some said Maurice was intentionally vague, dancing around the real questions while using emotion as a shield. Others felt he was playing the victim, making himself look like the good guy while subtly painting everyone else as villains. A few even accused him of doing the live just to generate sympathy and rebuild his image without actually addressing the core issues. The internet is a tough crowd, and no matter how raw or real you get, there's always going to be someone convinced you're performing. But his supporters, they were louder. They praised him for finally speaking up, for standing beside Sonia when she'd been torn apart unfairly, and for refusing to let the blogs control the narrative anymore. And as expected, because the internet can't let anything breathe for even 5 minutes, blogs immediately went into overdrive. Headlines started popping up faster than you could refresh. Some claimed the live was basically a relationship confirmation in disguise. Others called it a loyalty pledge. A few bold ones even started pushing engagement rumors, saying the emotional intensity was proof that something big was about to be announced. By the time morning rolled around, the entire situation had been chopped, remixed, and repackaged into at least 15 different versions of the truth. Fans were digging through archives, pulling up old interviews, rewatching behind-the-scenes footage, analyzing every smile, every touch, every shared glance between Maurice and Sonia like they were detectives solving a cold case. The internet had become a full-blown investigation unit, and no stone was left unturned. Meanwhile, Sonia. Absolute radio silence. No Instagram story. No tweet. No cryptic caption. Nothing. And somehow, that silence was louder than any statement she could have made. People were divided on what it meant. Some saw it as classy, she was above the noise, refusing to feed into the circus. Others thought it was strategic, let Maurice do the talking while she stayed mysterious and untouchable. A few were genuinely concerned, wondering if she was overwhelmed, hurt, or just exhausted from months of being the internet's punching bag. Either way, her silence added a whole new layer of intrigue to an already complicated situation. It was like she knew that sometimes, not saying anything says everything. Behind the scenes, industry insiders were reportedly split down the middle. Some felt Maurice crossed an unspoken boundary by airing things out so publicly, by bringing personal dynamics into the spotlight when the unwritten rule is to keep those things private. Others admired his courage, saying it takes guts to stand up for someone when the entire internet is against them, to risk your own reputation to protect someone else's. The debate wasn't just happening online, it was happening in production offices, on set, in private group chats where people in the industry were weighing in on whether Maurice did the right thing or made everything worse. And honestly, there was no clear consensus. This was messy, complicated, and deeply personal, which meant there was no easy answer. What became undeniable, though, was that the live stream changed everything. For months, the story had been controlled entirely by blogs, gossip pages, and faceless commentators who could say whatever they wanted without consequence. But that night, Maurice took the pen back. He reclaimed his voice, his truth, and his narrative. Whether people agreed with him, believed him, or thought he was still hiding something, one thing was certain, the conversation shifted. It was no longer just about what bloggers said or what fans speculated. Now, Maurice's words were part of the record, and that changed the entire dynamic. As the days passed, the debate didn't die down, it spread. Radio shows dedicated segments to it. Online panels dissected every word. Hashtags trended. Memes exploded. Fan pages picked sides and went to war in the comments. But beyond the gossip and the drama, something deeper started to emerge. People began asking bigger questions. Why can't society accept strong platonic bonds between men and women without sexualizing them? Why are women almost always blamed more harshly in these situations? Why does every close relationship have to end in scandal or speculation? These weren't just about Maurice and Sonia anymore, they were about culture, gender dynamics, and the way we consume celebrity lives like they are scripted entertainment instead of real human experiences. That phrase, "nothing can separate us," continued to echo long after the live ended. Maurice never explained what it truly meant. He didn't define the relationship, didn't clarify the boundaries, didn't give the internet the closure it was desperately craving. And maybe that's exactly why it still stirs conversation weeks later. Because ambiguity is uncomfortable. It forces people to sit with uncertainty, to accept that not everything needs a label or a neat explanation. And for a generation that's used to having answers at their fingertips, that's almost unbearable. So the debates rage on, the theories keep coming, and the fascination refuses to fade. For now, both Maurice and Sonia have returned to work. They are posting brand content, smiling in photos, showing up at events, and pretending like the internet didn't just spend weeks dissecting their entire existence. But the impact of that night lingers. You can see it in the way people comment on their posts, the way fans defend them more fiercely, the way critics watch their every move waiting for the next slip-up. The live stream might be over, but the story it started is far from finished. And as long as there's silence mixed with speculation, emotion mixed with ambiguity, and loyalty mixed with controversy, people will keep watching, keep talking, and keep wondering what the real truth is. So here's the real question, what do you think? Was Maurice's live stream a brave act of transparency or a carefully crafted performance? Is the bond between him and Sonia something beautiful that the world just doesn't understand, or is there more to the story than either of them is willing to admit? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is far from over. Hit that like button if you're Team Maurice, or drop a fire emoji if you're still on the fence. And don't forget to subscribe because trust me, this story has more chapters, and when the next one drops, you're going to want to be here for it. Let's keep this conversation going. What's your take?